Greetings, your friendly neighborhood Doug here, and today, quick conversation about building esteem, building self-esteem, and I'd like to revolve this a little bit around work, because oftentimes, well, when someone falls down and they start to pick themselves up, sometimes maybe they've been doing really well and maybe they've been making a lot of money. Maybe you've made a lot of money or had a very successful job or what you felt at the time was very successful, and you incorporate it so much into your identity. Maybe that's how you identified yourself. I'm a doctor, I'm a lawyer, I'm a carpenter, I'm a contractor, I'm a salesperson, or whatever it is. And when we lose that part of our identity, albeit temporarily, we tend to find ourselves kind of going down a vicious circle, a spiraling down, as it were. So one of the things I would ask you to try on is the idea that you are not your career, you are not your job, that is not who you are. That may have been something that you did, and doing little things as if they're important is very different than only doing important things. And I guess what I mean by that is if you're starting out again, if you're reinventing yourself, if you're starting over, by the way, I don't know if you knew this, but nowadays, the old paradigm is no longer the case where you got a job, you stayed there for X amount of years, you got your tenure, you got your severance packages, you just climbed up the ladder and got all these things. It's not the way it is anymore. People are actually changing careers, not jobs, careers, upwards of 4 or 5 times. So in that sense, it's actually a normal and natural experience. But here's what I'd like you to bring at as part of the conversation. If you were to lose a gig and it's time to start over, there's part of us that thinks, oh man, like flipping burgers, really? Like, oh man, I'm so much better than that. And, and you are, in this sense, is that you have so much more to offer. Flipping burgers, if that's where the gig, that's not who you are. So it's just something to do. But let me ask you this. How great do you think someone would feel? How great would you feel if you were to overcome that obstacle, that challenge within, to go out and do a task, a job that you may have felt was beneath you, and you had more to offer, and you showed up offering more. You showed up knowing you had so much more to give, and this was just part of the journey. Do you think you'd show up differently? And how quickly do you think you'd start either moving up or finding other opportunities with more certainty, with more confidence? And the truth is, things in motion tend to stay in motion, and things at rest tend to stay at rest. People tend to hire people who are kind of working already, not the person holding out for management. I can look back to times I've had to reinvent myself multiple times, and when I first started getting into speaking and doing that kind of thing, I was very successful in the music industry. As a matter of fact, I didn't want to go to my high school graduate reunion until I wanted to be, be world renowned, famous, accomplish all these things, and, kind of proved who I was, because growing up, I don't feel, and it was all inaccurate, but didn't feel I was understood, appreciated, or valued. So I wanted to come back and show them. So I didn't go to the 10-year or any of those, but I digress. So the reason why I'm sharing this is I was rather successful in the music industry, not world famous. In the industry, people knew who I was, and I was very successful, but the average Joe wouldn't necessarily know me. They knew a lot of the records that I worked on. So when the industry shifted and I had to reinvent myself, speaking, going out and helping others was a passion of mine, and obviously still is. And I ended up taking a gig just so that I could do something. Doing Mad Science is the name of this organization. And essentially it is going to like first and second grade classrooms with their after school program, wearing a mad science lab coat and do an after school program where once a week I would go in and essentially babysit a bunch of kids as I taught them little bits of science and that kind of thing. Now, for me, that felt beneath what I was doing. It did not pay very much at all. It, definitely wasn't for the money. And it was just, for me at that time, I was like, man, but I got to take it. I've got to just start doing something. Then one of the ways you could make a little extra money was to do parties. So on weekends would go to birthday parties. So it was essentially the clown at a party, but instead of doing clown stuff, I was a different kind of clown, and I would do these science tricks and that kind of thing. Well, one day I get this party, and I didn't really have much choice in these matters. And it was in the town that I went to high school in. And I show up, and it's one of the girls who I went to school with, her child's birthday party. And here I am showing up as a clown, essentially, making 20, 30 bucks an hour every 2 hours, making 50 bucks if I'm lucky, and then hoping you get a tip. Talk about state management and overcoming obstacles. And my biggest fears came up, like, oh my gosh, what is this person going to think of me? And it was horrible at first, but all this stuff that we're talking about, state strategy, story, like this was a great opportunity. This was, oh my gosh, talk about practicing what I preach. I had to reframe everything. I had to look at this so differently so I could show up. I had to manage my state. I had to implement strategies for state management so that I could be there for her children and all of that. And I got to speaking with them afterwards. And of course they remembered me. And it was interesting because of the way I showed up and the state I was in. They so appreciated it, and they didn't think any less of me. They treated me with the utmost respect and all of that. But what I got to do by overcoming that, it gave me the strength moving forward when it came to serious state management opportunities. Like when I got the gig for Tony Robbins, I showed up and I didn't do that well the first time, but I had all of this state management experience. Well, I was able to, I don't have time to tell you the whole story now. And another time I will. But had I not eaten the proverbial crow and done that other work, working with these kids, humbling myself, being willing to do these little things as if they were super important, when it came time, when it was really important to dig deep, to show up, to follow through, to not let anything get me down and push through, I was able to land a gig with Tony Robbins that for less than 50 people on the planet, I believe, have had this opportunity. So the message here is, it's not about what you do, it's about how you do it. And if you were to get a gig flipping burgers or doing some job, whether it's, sweeping floors or, whatever for you think it is. I don't even know what it is. I'm just making stuff up because I don't know what people think would necessarily be below, because what one person thinks is below them to another person is no big deal or actually an honor. So really it's about that perspective that we talked about in the past and that willingness to overcome that. Because when you overcome that conversation, the world opens up in ways you'd never imagine. So I know I went a bit long on this. The truth is, to build self-esteem, do things that you don't want to do things that challenge you, do things that, man, if you're feeling stressed, a little strain, if there's some emotional heavy lifting to do, when you do it, you will feel so much stronger, so much wiser, so much more empowered, inspired. And then you realize what else is possible. So if you're struggling at all, know that this is an opportunity to give it a shot, to bust on through. If you want more information, want to hang out and chat, feel free to subscribe to this channel, Revolutionary Growth TV. subscribe to our newsletter, join us, reach out. We're here. We want to answer any and all of the questions, challenges, and topics that you want addressed. And I tell you what, if we don't have an answer, we'll find one for you, because this is what we call our rehab. It's not rehab, it's we-hab. This is our journey together. This is just a moment in time that we share. And looking forward to more. Have a blessed day.